Welcome to Coffee and History, a conversation with Alabama heritage. I am your host, Caroline Gazzara-McKenzie. Join us as we sit down with some of the most fascinating folks in the Alabama community as we bring you the stories of Alabama that educate, inspire, and most likely entertain. Today, I am in Fairhope, Alabama for the annual Alabama Historical Association spring meeting. I'm sadly without my co-hosts Susan and Rebecca, but I hope I live up to their standards. And I promise that this episode will be just as caffeinated and thrilling as ever. But before I kick off and introduce our guest, I want to also thank Coastal Alabama Community College and especially Mandy, Bezeredi, and Christi Parent for allowing us to record in the Forum Center. Thank you so much, everyone. So, now then, let's get to our fun fact of the day. So, before I share it, I'm going to admit that it's one of my favorite fun facts, actually, and I learned about it personally before I learned about it on the Encyclopedia of Alabama. So, yes, so listeners, did you know that Fort Payne was once known as the sock capital of the world? The Fort Payne Hosiery Museum is home to original sock mills, textiles, and other fascinating displays. And when I joined Alabama Heritage, one of our first trips was actually to Fort Payne for, it was the pilgrimage meeting. And that's where I got to meet our guest, but the museum is incredible, and I highly recommend anyone to go visit and explore, just saying. But today's guest is Caity Bell, and Caity works for the Landmarks of DeKalb County, Alabama, which includes the Fort Payne Hosiery Museum. She earned her bachelor's degree in anthropology and religious studies from the University of Alabama, and a master's degree in the religion and cultural program, in addition to a museum certificate. Well, you're just a little busy lady, aren't you? She's also a good friend of mine and a former editorial assistant for the magazine Alabama Heritage. Also, we're both pet moms, and it's wonderful. So I'm excited to introduce Caity Bell to the podcast. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
So, Caity, would you mind first sharing about with our listeners more about the Fort Payne Hosiery Museum and what you do?
Yes, so I'm the archivist for Landmarks of DeKalb County. They manage several historic properties there, but specifically with the Fort Payne Hosiery Museum, it's set up to document the second boom of Fort Payne, Alabama, which was socks, and that's really what saved Fort Payne. So it's a whole story. I'm happy to get into it.
Yes, let's tell me. Okay, because obviously socks are a passion of everyone's.
Oh,
like my husband travels and he always buys me socks. So I want to know. Tell me about the socks. Tell the listeners.
Well, it's really fascinating. So not a lot of people know about Fort Payne's history. You know, it was originally the area was Willstown, the Cherokee Nation. The Trail of Tears that occurs in 1838. So Fort Payne's just kind of this small, empty settlement, and the name Fort Payne actually comes from the military fort that was sent during the Trail of Tears. So you have what used to be Willstown, has a federal fort in it now, and there's only around like 400 people living there. And then
in Willstown at the time?
At that point it was no longer called Willstown.
Okay.
But when we get to 1889, we have some investors from New England who come and turn that former fort into the city of Fort Payne, Alabama. And they're under the impression that this is going to be able to become a New England city of the South. They invest $5 million.
Whoa, that's a lot of money for that time.
It was a lot of money for the time. They're building, the whole downtown area. They're doing all of this mining operations to get iron and ore, and it ends up by 1892 it goes bust. So Fort Payne is so economically devastated. You have the Great Panic in 1893, the following year, and Fort Payne doesn't really take much notice of that because they've already, fallen into a huge depression.
Mm-hmm.
So Fort Payne's just kind of left in this place where, it seems like the city may very well go the way of being a ghost town like all these other former boom towns.
Mm-hmm.
But a few people who had actually invested in the boom stayed, and these three men, Dr. Quinn, Henry Brock, and Charles Sawyer, who all became future mayors of Fort Payne, they decided that the only thing that was going to save their city was if they could bring a new industry to it. They go out to Chattanooga, they find a bunch of people involved in hosiery there, and they convince them, they're like, hey, we have all of these brand new buildings that are empty, that were built during our boom period, and they would really fit well if we had some, hosiery mills there. So, luckily, these men agree, and we get the Florence Knitting Mill in 1907, which later becomes the W.B. Davis Mill, and that's the mill everyone recognizes it for today. The same name, and there's actually a restaurant inside it. So you can go eat, see some of the old socks. But this is the mill that's going to send us on the path to becoming the sock capital of the world. Because in World War II, one of the founders there, Robert Evans Davis Sr., and then there was a junior later, he actually invented a sock, the 4D cushion foot sock.
Whoa, okay, wait. The 4D cushion sock?
Yes.
Do we use that still to this day, or?
I don't believe so, but if you're familiar with compression socks, it's totally going to work the same way. He was playing with his children, this is around 1937, and they were doing some really weird game that they had invented. It seemed like a hodgepodge of all these different, like, tag and baseball and all these things. And at the end of it, his feet were covered in blisters. So he said he was sitting in his living room, and he's like, there's got to be something better. So he invents this sock. It's wool lined, and it has this really absorbent material. So it's great for, getting out doing work, any sort of activity like that, like playing with your children. And by the time we get into World War II, the government catches wind of it, and they're like, you know what? This would be fantastic to use in the South Pacific for our men over there. So the government, actually, Davis has to patent all these socks, but he waives his royalties for them. So the government is able to have multiple mills across the U.S. producing these socks. I'm trying to remember the exact number. There were millions that were produced overall of this one sock in Fort Payne.
Wow.
So after that, we start getting a bunch of other mills in Fort Payne opening up, and every other mill that opens in Fort Payne had their start in the Davis Mill. So eventually you're getting into just this hosiery empire where it seems like the whole town is just made up of, its bread and butter is socks. So
that's just so cool to me. I remember when I was working on my thesis project, and this was about, coverage of World War II, in different medias. But so I remember in the New York Times, I think it was 1941, right after, Japan surrendered, the headline was, "Women, you can now wear your hoses," or something like that. And I didn't realize at the time that hosiery was, used in World War II, and that as women, we gave that up to them, basically. So it was just, I love that headline, and it still stands out to me to this day, and I'm like, that's just so cool. So I love that our state has a part of this history, especially because, I don't know, socks are really cool to me.
They were really cool, yeah. I mean, there was even like a whole military ceremony after World War II where a general came and was giving a talk at the Davis Mill because they were awarded the Army-Navy Award for Excellence for wartime production.
Wow.
And in this talk, he's discussing that, these socks brought, I believe the direct quote was, great comfort and joy to thousands of our soldiers overseas. So it seems a bit odd thinking like we're having this whole ceremony over a sock. But, I mean,
it did leave an impact.
It definitely did, and it made Fort Payne, down the road, the official sock capital of the world. So.
And I love it. I think that's just the coolest little fun fact. But you grew up in DeKalb County, Northeast Alabama. That's where you're from. So how has being from the region shaped the way you approach the history of the region?
I mean, I grew up, in Fort Payne, and my grandmother, I think my first exposure to really getting invested spending afternoons with my grandmother, I probably worse because I would go through her house. She had all these knickknacks and curio cabinets, and I was constantly pointing out different small little things from our family history and asking what the history was behind this, what's the history behind that. And that just sort of grew into like every time I was somewhere in Fort Payne that was historic, I was constantly asking these questions. And it gave me a real appreciation for history on a smaller scale. I think so often when we're talking about history, we kind of look at these large, overarching narratives, and we forget the way it trickles down and affects us in our daily lives. I mean, we're experiencing that now because we're always experiencing history in the making.
Yes.
But when we look back at it, we tend to forget these smaller little components in like everyday lives. But that's the stuff that's really, to me, is the most interesting. Because not only can you relate to it more, but, it's, especially in a small town like Fort Payne, when I'm talking about larger history, it really helps be able to bring it down to a local level. Because it's a small town, a lot of the surnames there have always been there. So when you're talking about these events that have happened, whether it's socks or, drugs in an early pharmacy, like some of my other work, it has real effects on people who, they would recognize. So it doesn't feel far off and distant and overreaching like when you're in a history class. Now it's just right out your back door.
And we heard earlier at the conference, this talk about how community level history is very important, and I totally agree. I love that. So, Landmarks of DeKalb County maintains several properties in the area, including the Fort Payne Opera House. I remember you and I both walked over, and it was really pretty. I was taken aback by how pretty it was, and then to find out that it was still actively used was pretty cool to me too. So, is it still being used?
Yes,
okay.
It is actually the oldest theater in the state that is still in use as a theater.
Yes, it's the oldest opera house too, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, okay.
That's still in use.
That's still in use.
Yes.
So, okay, let's talk about this. Are there operas performed there still?
So what they have is, people are able to rent out the space and host events there. I'm trying to recall something. I believe in like the 70s maybe, going back to the archival materials. I know there was a ballet there, so there were like all these bands performing there. But recently, most recently, the Irish band like Henry's Notions performed there.
Cool.
And I mean, the Opera House, because it was built in 1889, so it's built to amplify sound very, very well without the need of a sound system. We do have a sound system still, but I mean, it's a space where having live performances like that, whether it's plays or, people singing or performing, it works so well.
And it's such an intimate space. And it's not very big, but you still feel a part of that room when the sound is happening. I just remember feeling just in awe of I love opera houses. I think they're so cool. I love buildings. I'm just excited about everything, obviously, but I just think it's really cool that that's something you work on. What about the other properties that Landmarks works with?
There is the Fort Payne cabin site.
Okay.
Which is, well, that was where, when we go back to this being Willistown before, it was a part of the Cherokee Nation. That was actually a man's house, where they put the fort of Fort Payne.
Oh.
So, Spirit the Preacher was how he was called. And he was a Cherokee man who lived there, and his cabin, which doesn't stand today, but there's some elements that still remain, was taken to be turned into this fort.
So. Okay. And then any other properties you'll manage?
Yes. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's Council Bluff School. It's the last remaining one-room school in San Mountain. Lord, I should have just written down the list of everything.
It's okay. Look, I'm interested in all of it, and I don't know enough about the Landmarks program, so and I'm sure our listeners don't know a whole lot about it either, so I want to highlight and spotlight it, basically.
Well, there's also Patel, which was actually a mining town that's similar to Fort Payne, you know, went bust. But it was never brought back. They didn't have socks to save them, so it actually turned into
No socks for you.
no. But it is neat. There's some flora there that's come back because now the woods have taken it over, and there's some flora there that's come back that doesn't really exist in other parts of the state. So it's a nice thing to preserve.
Oh, that's exciting. So, what first sparked your interest into archival research? I think it was your grandmother, obviously, since we just talked about her. But what about? Did you know you wanted to stay in Alabama history?
Um, no, I was always interested in that small local history, and then I think as I got older, you know, I was looking into other things like history on a wider scale and stuff. But by the time I got to grad school and started doing the museum program and being introduced to archival work, I started coming back to my roots in a way. I was doing, you know, the work with Alabama Heritage, seeing all these different local history stories, and then I was also doing an internship with Landmarks, celebrating they had a bicentennial exhibit coming through, and I don't know, it really just brought back this, you know, I wasn't aware that all of this existed in Fort Payne, and I had this deep desire to ensure none of this history was lost.
Yeah.
And they needed an archivist, so I was like, I would love
Of course.
to come here.
Opportunities are opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to go back close to your roots and learn about where you came from. That's so cool. Now, when did you work with Alabama Heritage?
I believe it was like, you know, was it the first year of grad school? Or the second? It was around 2019.
Okay, so the bicentennial celebration.
Yes.
Okay, so you got to work on possibly the territories issue and the bicentennial issue.
Yes.
And if you want to purchase those back issues, those are available at alabamaheritage.com. And also, you can give a gift subscription to whoever you love or subscribe for yourself. Just saying, it's awesome. But you can still get those back issues of those incredible copies. So I didn't know when you actually were working because I was still doing my undergraduate stuff or grad school at the time too. So I just wanted to learn more about your time at Alabama Heritage. You know, can you talk a little bit about what you did?
Well, it was a lot of, you know, basic intern editorial work.
Fact checking.
Yes, it was so much fact checking. I thought it was really neat getting to see just how much work goes into these magazines because, you know, you're going to have the fact checking station there with like one student, and then it's moving on to other people to look at, and then there's all these editorial stages, and just seeing. I remember thinking it was just kind of making a circle around the office, and it would come back, and then it would go around again. But I don't know, it gave me a huge appreciation for, you know, the amount of work that goes into that, and to just see all these moving parts come together to make, you know, this wonderful magazine
that you still get to contribute to as well.
Yes.
Because if I recall correctly, you have an upcoming article.
I do, yes.
And they will be in the summer issue of Alabama Heritage Magazine. So can you tell us a little bit about the upcoming article?
Well, it's actually on the Opera House in Fort Payne.
Yay! So this will tie in.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, definitely check out Caity's article in the magazine. So, what are some of the biggest challenges facing historic preservation in small town Alabama right now?
I mean, funding for sure. Like,
everyone needs money.
Everyone needs money. Yeah. I mean, funding is always a concern, especially when you're in competition with the other places around you as well. But now too, with everything going on currently, you know, a lot of the funding has been cut or moved.
It's been cut, moved, postponed.
Yes.
But you're still fighting for your history and small town history. So that's just incredible. But besides the financial challenges, have you discovered any challenges like with working with the public or possibly stepping on some toes about the history that people don't want to know about? You know, do you deal with that?
I mean, a lot of this has been, trying to make sure people are aware of us. Because I know growing up, I grew up there and I didn't know about a lot of this history there. So it's a struggle to kind of have outreach and have people, be aware of what you're doing and, always calls for support and things like that. When this is really important because it's your history. Let's keep it for future generations. Um, I don't know necessarily about pushback for anything.
Okay.
But
so how are you meeting the public then? Like, are you going out having events? I know the historical association has come up a couple times to Fort Payne, but what about you in your outreach to get your local community to know about the history?
Well, Landmarks is an organization. They have one of the big draws is that the Opera House is so publicly available. So people are always, wanting to do tours there, which is open for tours. But they're also wanting to, rent the space. Hunt Hall, which is connected to the Hosiery Museum, is also available for people to rent, and then you get to see some of the local history while you're having your event. And I think things like that do a lot to keep these places accessible to where they're not really static. It feels like it's a lived-in space and it's becoming a part of the community. But for me, on my end, because I do a lot of I'm usually the person who's not seeing as much because I'm back in the archives.
Yep.
Kind of uncovering all this history and making sure it's going to be here for a very long time. But recently we've had the traveling Smithsonian exhibit, and I've been doing a lot with that to do a bit more of docent work, giving some tour guides to people, and yeah, I mean it's been great because we're actually in line with the SPARK Places of Innovation. We wanted to highlight more of our local innovators, so I've been redoing the Hosiery Museum. So it's more interactive. You can actually hear the steam whistle now that used to call people to work, which apparently a bunch of kids who have been coming through have informed me that they much prefer their iPhone alarms to waking up to a steam whistle.
Wow. Okay, I get that. They don't get to control how loud the alarm is or whatnot.
It's true. I mean, the steam whistle, what we play in the museum, is much softer, but when it was actually had steam running through it, it would have been very, very loud.
Would it have been would the steam whistle have been in one of the mills, or was it?
It was outside. The steam whistle we have in the museum actually used to be outside of the Davis Museum. It was there when it was first the Florence Mill in 1907, and then Davis takes over the mill and it stays there. And then as they're making the Hosiery Museum later, once we start losing our hosiery industry, it gets donated and installed in the museum.
Okay, I like that. So how does DeKalb County fit into Alabama's larger historical story?
Oh my gosh, I think DeKalb County, and more specifically Fort Payne, is such a good fit for this overarching history we have. When we talk about larger histories of the United States, because Fort Payne has been a little bit of everything. I mean, originally it was part of the Cherokee Nation. So, and with the Cherokee Nation, you're having to use an actual passport to get in and out for a good bit there. So it's not a part of the U.S. at this time when it's closed down. And then you have the Trail of Tears history there, and then it's kind of nothing for a bit, although there are some Civil War skirmishes. But then you get into the boom era in the 1880s, and you have people from New England moving in, and all of a sudden it's this weird dichotomy again between the North and the South because we just had the Civil War, and tensions are still very high, and they're building up Fort Payne and doing all of these. They actually brought in electricity and water treatment systems and schools and everything.
So they did some good for the area.
They did a lot for the area until it went bust and we lost everything again until you get stocks. And I don't know, it's just there's so much there, and even with the smaller history projects I'm doing of the pharmacy there and tying it back to the creation of the FDA, you can look at this and get a little bit of everything. So
I think that's true for Alabama in general. I've learned just by working with the magazine how much of history starts or has a piece of Alabama in it. You know, from medical history to social history, we have, we're a part of it. And it's just really cool because I didn't think about what was done in the state of Alabama before I moved here. You know, the resident out of Standard has no clue. So, but I think it's just incredible because we have such a rich biodiversity in the state. We have so many pieces of history that happen here that affect the greater region or the country. So I'm just, I think what you do is just truly fascinating. You mentioned that you're working in the archives mostly, or you have been. What are some of the recent projects you're working on?
The most recent project is the one I'll be presenting tomorrow, actually, for the
Okay.
Historical Association.
I was going to ask about this too.
It's well, in 2022 we had over 500 paper materials donated to the archive, and they all came from the Quinn Building in Fort Payne.
And what's the Quinn Building?
It was, originally a drugstore and then became a hotel, and now it's pretty much empty. But Glenn Horton, the man who owns the building, came in and donated all of these. He said he had gone in and he found them upstairs in one of the upper rooms. So he brought them to landmarks, and I got to spend a very long time sorting through everything, like trying to digitize them, and it was really neat looking through these. The bulk of these materials are receipts, a lot of them handwritten receipts, which was a lot of fun trying to read. But
Yep.
They're from 1903 to 1904, and
Wait, 5,000 pieces of paper that are only within a year span?
500.
500. Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, that's so many for a short period of time.
I mean, there were a few other like advertisements and stuff, but the bulk of these are just these receipts from 1903 to 1904, and a lot of, aside from the drugs, which is what I'm talking about. A little funny tidbit is that there was a bunch of orders made for gallons of like corn and alcohol. It was like white corn and yellow corn, and it was just repeatedly like ordering all of these huge amounts of corn and then gallons of alcohol. And I'm pretty sure they were just making corn.
Yeah, I was like, does corn make alcohol? I'm not knowledgeable in a lot of these.
Yeah, you can make corn liquor from it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you can make potato liquor. So yeah. Oh, well, that's interesting. I think it's just like a little snapshot of what his life was like, or what the people's life was like with these receipts.
Oh yeah, and too, for the part I'm focusing on, which is like what drugs were they selling people. This is like right before we had the FDA in 1906. So it's a really great snapshot into like what was happening at this time period. And again, it's taking these things in like a very small town, and you're able to tie this into larger history, because at the same time that you're seeing these drugs being sold, like things that have mercury in them, things that just blatantly don't work, but because we don't have the FDA yet, there's no requirement for them to list like what ingredients are in these drugs, because they want to safeguard their formulas.
It's similar to like the supplement industry of today.
Yes, there's so many similarities to today, but there's all these like larger papers from like the Journal of American Medicine around this time period where they're calling out these drugs and specifically calling for government oversight. These drugs that are being sold in this pharmacy, which the druggist wouldn't have been aware of, because I believe it was like 1905 and 1906 specifically when a lot of the worst drugs in here began being written out. So at the time, because no one knows what's in these drugs, even like the pharmacists selling them don't know.
That's concerning.
Yes, but I mean, this is the time period, and especially if you're in a more rural place, like there's less access to these things, you're not seeing the same sorts of medical journals and all this stuff.
Yeah, it felt like it might have more of a more medicine vibe, traveling medicine person, kind of concept at the time. Is that correct?
I mean, there was certainly earlier in Fort Payne like an actual like pharmacist that was going around I believe we have an archival image of the wagon and mule that was dragging that around.
Oh.
But Dr. Quinn was in the building.
Okay.
So, and he did have a medical degree. But for the things being sold, you're getting advertised to in a time when millions of people are dying from tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
There's no known cure for this. And you're in a city that's just had this huge, economic recession. So people are pretty desperate. And, when you have something like that, people are going to want to try whatever they can.
Yep.
And there's no safeguards in place to protect consumers. So these people making these drugs can just claim whatever they want to about them. And it's all just unchecked. So.
And that's interesting. So when tuberculosis, the outbreak happened in Alabama, did Fort Payne suffer from it because they didn't have the resources or the medicine to prevent it?
That's actually something I'm going to be looking into in the next stage of this project.
Ooh.
Because so much of this has just been going through all of these receipts and trying to figure out what are these. Because a lot of the times you have the actual names for these drugs. But then too, you're having to go back and try to find what these were, because this is a while back. It's difficult to find sources on some of these, especially the more obscure ones. And then some of them are just written down with the name of the chemical or something. So it's I'm not a pharmacist. I'm gonna have to go talk to some pharmacists to figure this out. But
so any pharmacist out there, Caity Bell would love some help.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Just letting the world know. But that's so cool. So what got you into this side of history, the medicine side of history?
I don't know. I've always been, I've had a bit of an obsession with medical history. Probably more so after the pandemic because we were seeing it directly.
Yeah.
And then,
because we never thought we would live through a pandemic, but obviously history happens, and it did.
Yeah, and whenever something happens now, I think I take a lot of comfort in trying to go back and see what happened before and what the reactions were to it, what people did.
Mm-hmm.
Because, history so often, it may not repeat, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
So, and you get to learn a lot about kind of what's going on around you. You can understand today much better by looking back at the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just kind of fell down a rabbit hole during medical history.
I like that. So I took a couple of medical anthropology courses in college and was really fascinated with just the different ways people practice medicine across the world, right? That's why I asked if it was more like a medicine man, because the traveling kind of concept, because in other parts of the world at this time, that's what it was. And sometimes could still be to this day. So plus I'm always a health issue. I'm the one that broke her ankle earlier this year. So I always like to learn about the different types of medicine and things that could help, the everyday life that we deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So in this research that you're working on right now, what are you finding?
In terms of the drugs being offered, and remember, this is just the 1903, 1904 period.
Yeah, this is a very tiny period of time.
It is a very small window, and because I don't have access to other receipts, I have no way of knowing, are some of these things that are being ordered just, the pharmacist wanting to check them, see what they are, see how they work, or are these being, ordered repeatedly and offered again and again?
Sure.
But, there was one thing that was ordered that was called T-Fina.
T-Fina?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's actually a teething powder for babies.
Oh.
But it contains calomel, which is actually mercury. So.
Not a good thing to give to babies.
No, anyone giving this to their children, they would end up developing what, around 1921, it becomes known as Pate's disease, which is actually just mercury poisoning.
Oh.
But a lot of things at this time, have mercury in them, and people aren't aware. So you're giving your children mercury poisoning in the teething powder, and then they're having these really terrible symptoms that people at the time aren't able to connect to the teething powder. Their skin is really irritated, starting to peel off in places. It's really, really unpleasant. So,
yeah, that does not sound whatsoever. Don't think I want that to happen. But so, okay, you're finding out about that. Do you think that this world that you're starting to learn about in the pharmacy medical history, do you think it expands further outside of just Fort Payne into the state of Alabama?
Oh, definitely. So I'm just looking at it through the lens of like what's available to me, which is I work in an archive in Fort Payne, and these materials are from Fort Payne Pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine if you're going throughout the rest of the state, you're going to find very similar things being sold. A lot of these, because there's no, regulatory body saying, you know, you need to test these to make sure they're safe, and you also can't mislead people in your advertising. A lot of these products are having these like massive advertising campaigns. They are sending things out to newspapers. They're sending a bunch of things out to doctors and pharmacists. They're also doing a lot of more shady things where they're buying like fake phony endorsements so that people think their product is working. It's doing all these claims they're saying it does, like curing cancer.
But we kind of see that still to this day with the different types of advertising in the pharmaceutical industry, which really doesn't happen outside of the country. Like I know in Europe and in Asia, they don't allow pharmacists or pharmaceutical companies to advertise. So that's kind of interesting.
Yes, that was one of the things that I first noticed was, I tend to look at all the advertising campaigns we see today on TV for like drugs and antidepressants, and you think it's such a new thing, and then you go back to this pharmacy and it's like, oh, we've always had these.
Yes.
The one difference is that they aren't able to advertise these things to you and make the claim that like it's going to do these like miraculous things for you. They're also having to list a bunch of disclaimers with the side effects now.
Yes.
But I do still think it's strange that we get these advertisements at all.
I do too. I always am like, who asks for that specific medication? Like at the doctor's office. Like I don't, but I don't know everything. So
there were so many of these old drugs that in their advertising campaigns they used a lot of testimonials, and they were talking about how like, this is getting popular because like such and such heard about it from their friends, or they read about it in the newspaper, and now they want to go talk to their friend about it, and it's just like this long chain of like misinformation.
Newspaper history in Alabama for a while, especially in the late 1800s, was community journalism, where they would basically put it up on, a community board, and that's how people shared their news. So, that's just an interesting subject to start learning about. I'm really excited to see what your research comes from it, and I hope you publish with us, of course. Just saying, we're pretty cool. But so, in your entire research, of course, what's been one document, object, photograph that you've encountered that really stopped you in your tracks, stood out to you, made you take a pause? I know that's a tough question, I'm sure. I don't remember where we were for a conference, but there was one that we were both at the museum, and it was the dirt from where different enslaved people had been lynched.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't remember which conference, but that stopped me in my tracks because it was just it was humbling, So, but you've done so many different types of archival research. I'm just interested.
I mean, I think this begins to be like, as I'm getting older too, most of my focus and my memories tend to be with whatever I'm working on most recently, because I feel like I'm always finding very interesting things.
I can agree with that, honestly. She always has something cool.
It's I feel like for the most part right now, because I'm so focused on the pharmacy side, a lot of what I'm thinking of as the most interesting is just all of these drugs and ad campaigns that were. There was a really neat. I thought it was very cute. This isn't as like dire as the other things, but in some of the materials from the Penn Pharmacy, there was this nice little handwritten note that was probably hung in a window, and it read, well, it was like, a pleasure to see, a sight to behold. If you break it, then it is sold. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it was so cute. It was like such a nice little poetic, like if you break it, you buy it.
Yeah.
And some things never change. They just got much simpler today.
Yeah, we're a lot more direct.
Yes.
Now I mentioned in the beginning of the episode that you are a pet mom, and same with me. But when we first met, we both have an animal named Daisy. So her Daisy is a dog, my Daisy is a cat. But your Daisy went to work with you and was the guard dog of the museums, correct?
She was. It was a year or so ago. My cat had passed away. That I'd had for a really long time. And Daisy, who is a rescue, has really bad separation anxiety. So when the cat was no longer there, she was incredibly distraught and full on, like, anytime I tried to leave the house, she was just shaking. So I started bringing her to work with me because, there's a nice little spot back in the archive room where she's tucked away on her dog bed and she's not touching anything.
Yeah.
So it's a nice space for her. And, Daisy's a very gentle, like, timid dog, so she just lays on her bed. But there was a fun moment where Jessica Harper Brown, the executive director at Landmarks, she, during one of the board meetings, presented to them, like, hey, we really need better archival security and museum security. So I'm taking it upon myself to go ahead and find someone for this job. And she gave them a picture of Daisy.
Oh my goodness, that's great.
So it was apparently a unanimous decision to hire her, and she worked for Fry's. That was
for pay.
Okay. And she even got a little badge that said she was the chief security officer.
I love that.
So she was great.
And she's still with us, but she just retired
Yes.
from being a guard dog. Okay, we got to make sure that you say that she's still with us.
There's another cat at home now, so she's suddenly switched gears, and she's like, okay, well, I can't leave the house now. I've got to make sure the cat doesn't get into anything.
So that's why she, quote unquote, retired to be with her friends. Oh, that's so cute. My Daisy, the cat, she is about to turn 14, and that's kind of hard for me because I'm like, she's been a part of my life since I was an adult, but she is still on the hunt trying to patrol and be my guard cat, So I don't know how to get her to retire, and just kind of live the best life that she should. But maybe
we need to get her a little badge.
Yeah, I think I do. I think we need to get our Daisies together just so we can get pictures. Because that would be cool. But your Daisy is so sweet. Such a lovely dog.
She is. She's like a basset hound and a beagle mix.
Yes.
So we always joke and say she's a little bagel.
I know. I love her. She's a little bagel.
She's precious.
Well, Caity, before we wrap everything up, we have one more section where we call Before You Go, and it's just a quick, get to know you questions. But I really enjoyed this conversation so far, and I really hope we can continue it after this episode. Okay, let's shoot some questions off. Okay, so you're a dog mom, and now a cat mom again, But if you could take care of any other animal, what would it be and why?
Probably a bird. I do really love birds.
Cool.
I like to go bird watching, and I tend to watch these little videos on Instagram and stuff of people with birds. But
I like that. My backyard neighbor actually built 4 or 5 different birdhouses for his backyard, and he let my daughter help, just feed them and put birdseed in. But it's so cool because I've never seen someone just put birdhouses up, so I love it. I like that. So, what was your favorite summertime activity as a kid?
Honestly, because we grew up on the mountain, and it was a very rural area, and we were always, like, my cousins and I, just running around outside, unsupervised, just getting into whatever we could. So it was a lot of fun, though.
Those were the good old days. I love that. I think my favorite summertime activity was always doing the reading list for school before. I loved doing the list, like the assigned reading. I was that little nerd over there. Okay, so if you weren't an archivist in your other life, what would you be?
I think maybe a teacher, which is a bit strange for me now because I specifically didn't go into like history as a degree because people told me I would just have to be a teacher, and I used to have really bad like anxiety with public speaking. So So I was like, okay, I could never do that. But now that I've, gotten older and got more comfortable with things, it's like I really do enjoy, like, giving the tours and getting to talk to people about this history. So it's like I would probably end up doing something like that.
Yeah. And I know there's certain like places around the state that partner with local museums, so like an educational system. So that would be really cool. Landmarks could do that. Okay. What's your favorite M&M color? Everyone's very particular, as we all know.
I think it's very boring. I just like the brown ones.
Okay, me too. I like the yellow and brown ones because they look like a little bee when you stack them up together as a kid, and that was what I was like, yay bees. So love that. Are we twins?
It seems like it.
Okay, if you had an unlimited budget, and I do mean this, an unlimited budget, what would be the first thing you do?
Build a storm shelter. Like, I know that's like,
we're so practical. I'm like paying off loans.
I know, it's like just where I live. It's like, yeah, I would want a storm shelter, and then probably take care of other people in my life.
Yeah, I'm like, let's start with the practical. We gotta get this done, and then we can splurge on all the other fun things. But priorities. And then last question: where is one place in the world that you would like to visit? And where are we going? Because apparently I'm going with you.
I'm trying to think. Probably England, because when I was getting into like studying history outside the U.S., I was really fascinated by it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because when I started getting into studying more of like medical history, I did like a deep dive on the bubonic plague.
Oh.
And it happened there, it happened in other places in Europe, but I would probably like to visit England and go see some of those places.
Okay, okay, that's what we're gonna say about Florence. Go together, because I would like to go as well. Well, Caity, I've had a wonderful time chatting with you today, and thank you for joining the show, Coffee and History. I'm so thankful. But we want to thank you for being a guest on our show. You can find our podcast wherever you listen, and also watch us on the YouTube channel, where we post unedited raw footage of the podcast itself. Why we do that, I'm still not sure, but here we are. But be sure to follow, like, subscribe, comment, rate, whatever you want to do. But please be sure to do something for the podcast on YouTube or your whatever listening platform you like. Or follow us on social media. We like that too. And remember that we also are a print magazine, so you can subscribe to Alabama Heritage Magazine at alabamaheritage.com. But until next time, thanks for listening, and as my lovely co-host Rebecca would say, but first, I need more coffee. Bye, everyone. But, okay, well, get up. That's good. You don't get to see me in my cute little outfit.